We have a motion that the closed meeting be closed and the board certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting to which the certification applies, and only such business matters as were identified in the motion concerning the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
So moved.
A second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Shuttleworth, would you please certify? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. Hope everyone's enjoying their summer. If everyone please stand and join us in a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So once again, I'd like to welcome everyone here. Hope everyone is enjoying their time off. Appreciate your attendance. And Ms. Alka, I think you're first on the agenda.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, and Dr. Thornton. It is my honor and my privilege to present this evening outstanding students and community members who help to make our schools very successful. We're going to begin with our student liaisons who will begin their responsibilities and their duties at the next board meeting. If Cameron Hawkins would please come forward. There's some information about you. Representing Parkview High School, Ms. Cameron Hawkins is a rising senior at Parkview High School and is the daughter of Bobby and Angie Hawkins. She has one brother and one sister, and throughout her school career, she has maintained honor roll and will serve as the vice president of the School Student Government Association. This summer, she had the opportunity to participate in the Virginia Girls State at Longwood University. She is a junior member of the Southside Rescue Squad and hopes to be an EMT by the end of August. She will be an EMT by the end of August. Upon graduation from high school, Cameron plans to go to college and major in nursing. She aspires to become a registered nurse in either a trauma, ER, or pediatric unit. She loves working and helping other people, and we welcome Cameron as a student liaison. Congratulations. Can't wait to work with you. You'll just stand there. If Mr. Davon Moody would please come forward. Mr. Moody represents Bluestone High School, and he is a rising senior at Bluestone High School and is the son of Kenyatta Moody. He has a younger brother and a twin brother. So I'm going to hope that he shows up every time and doesn't play any tricks on us. Throughout his school career, he has maintained honor roll and serves as the president of Future Business Leaders of America, the class president, a computer technician intern from Mecklenburg County Public Schools, student coordinator of One Love, One Life, which is an anti-bullying program, and is also a My Big Campus trainer. Upon graduation from high school, Davon plans to attend a four-year university majoring in business management, information systems, aspiring to become a computer technician. In his spare time, he enjoys working on computers, helping others, and involving himself in community service projects. And we welcome Davon as a student liaison. Congratulations. So next time you come, you'll be sitting over there and you'll be sitting over there. We look forward to having both of you work with us. Thank you so much, and thank you for being here tonight. Yes, sir. Well, she's getting ready to take her test on Thursday, she says. Might have a virtual problem here. Okay. The Backpack Buddies is a national program whose mission is to provide food for food insecure children and their families. Because of current economic conditions in Mecklenburg County, Backpack Buddies was implemented this year at Clarksville Elementary School and has spread to Bluestone Middle School. The goal of Backpack Buddies this year was to implement the program and evaluate it at the end of the first school year. At startup, the hope was to provide weekend food bags to 40 food insecure children at Clarksville Elementary. Because community enthusiasm and support for the program were so great, it was possible to provide 100 bags of nutritious food to be sent home each Friday at Clarksville Elementary. In January, the Virginia Food Bank began providing another 50 bags each week, which were sent home from Bluestone Middle School. The program's success is due to the generosity and support of many churches, individuals, businesses, and civic organizations who have worked together to make this possible. The Clarksville Ruitons also applied for a grant to assist with Backpack Buddies. Backpack Buddies has greatly exceeded expectations. In addition to much-needed food supplement for the children, it has created a sense of community togetherness to the 12 organizations that work together to provide the food. Dottie Thaxton, if you'll please come forward at this time. Dottie Thaxton is one of the members of the advisory board, and she's going to share some information with you shortly, but we'd like to recognize her at this time and thank you for your efforts for the Backpack Buddy program. So if you'll just wait, got you here somewhere. Hold on. There you are, the very last one. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Just stand right there. I'm going to give you a chance to say something. Yes, ma'am. Dottie Thaxton and Elaine Sens, members of the Backpack Buddies Advisory Committee, have met with Ann Dalton, principal, and Beverly Baugh, the guidance counselor at Clarksville Elementary, to make plans to continue the program for the upcoming school year. In the future, committee members hope to be able to take their model of the program to other Mecklenburg County schools and encourage them to implement a Backpack Buddies program. And while they do not have the personnel resources to work at other schools, they are confident they can provide information and direction that will get others started if they are interested. And we'd like to recognize other members of the advisory committee for their hard work and their service to our children, their families, our schools, and our communities for providing this much-needed program. So thank you, Ms. Thaxton, for being here this evening. We'd also like to to congratulate and recognize, Ms. Beverly Baugh, the guidance counselor at Clarksville Elementary. And Ms. Louise Smith could not be here with us this evening, but we have Elaine Sens with us, so part of the advisory committee. We also have Joe Sens with us this evening. Damascus Ford, Jr. And just so that you see a connection for these folks and the people that they touch, of course, Ms. Baugh is the guidance counselor at Clarksville Elementary. Louise Smith represents Cedar Grove Church. Elaine Sens and Mr. Sims represent Jameson United Methodist Church. Damascus Ford represents Second Baptist Church. And Dottie Thaxton, represents Clarksville Presbyterian Church. So we really appreciate all of your hard work and your efforts. It's very meaningful for our children and for Mecklenburg County Public Schools. Thank you very much. At this time, Mrs. Thaxton would like to share some information with you about the program and its success this year.
She said everything I was going to say, so I'll just say ditto. But I do want to say that we provided over 3,000 bags of food this year to Clarksville Elementary School and Bluestone Middle School. 62% of the children at Clarksville Elementary qualify for the free or reduced lunch. And estimate is at least half of those children are in really food insecure homes. which means they don't have much food on the weekends. They get their lunch during the, so we send home 6 meals on Friday. 2 dinners, 2 breakfasts, 2 lunch, and 2 snacks. And I'm hoping that the test scores improved this year. I don't know. But when I first approached Beverly and asked her if the school would be interested, she said yes. And I thought our church could maybe do 10 students. She says, well, why don't we contact some other churches? So at the first meeting, we had 30 churches represented. And then the second meeting, we dwindled down, but we had 12 churches, or like the employees of Meadowview Nursing Home participated with us. So between those 11 organizations, we were able, each church decided how many children they could sponsor. And we ended up with 100 kids at the elementary school and 50 a week at Bluestone Middle with the help of the food bank. I thank you very much. We are planning on continuing the program for this next year. We're gearing up again. So I thank you.
Thank you all very much for doing that for us.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Thaxton, Gordon, excuse me. Is it all right if I go, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Michael Duncan, and if we could pull the screen up for me. I'm the Deputy Director at the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research in Danville, Virginia. We're not really well known in this part of our footprint. Our footprint extends from Mecklenburg County all the way to Patrick. And we're out here actually to help. I know that sounds kind of crazy coming from a quasi-state agency, but that's what we are. I see you laughed. You weren't supposed to laugh yet. The presentation you have in front of you is just offered up. I'm going to hit it on the screen, assuming I can get this thing to work. The Institute, quite honestly, is the intersection between the university, Virginia Tech, Virginia State, and several other in the Commonwealth, and the business community and the community at large. We're charged with the economic revitalization of Southern Virginia by developing and attracting technology and talent critical to driving that. That's a fancy way of saying that what we're all about is economic development. Our role is measured how well we have an economic impact in our footprint. And you might hear me use the phrase footprint impact, but it's very, very real to us. The reason I'm here with you all is because part of our mandate is advanced learning, and we define advanced learning to mean where education meets experience. Quite simply, we find that students, at whatever level they are, when they get into the workforce, the more experience they have, the better off they do. So we reach into K through 12, undergraduate and graduate programs. We work with teachers. We work with a variety of different governor schools, 6 of them. We have a STEM mobile lab that one evening I hope to have out here so you guys can see it. We had it out recently. And we get involved in college and high school internships. Those internships all have a very defined experience requirement. Perhaps the most important one that we deal with is the Commonwealth STEM Industry Internship Program. We have over 11 interns right now that we sponsor at the Institute, and a variety of others that are sponsored by industry. They are focused on the STEM disciplines, science, technology, engineering, math, and next year they will include health, and you'll hear the phrase STEM-H. The 10 participants that the Institute sponsors all get paid. They're either paid by the Institute or they're paid by their employers. Most of the time it is mutually beneficial. We all have skin in the game. 320 contact hours. They'll finish on the 2nd of August. We also have an educator internship program, and this is one where we take teachers and we bring them into the classroom, into the research lab, so that they can then take it to the classroom. We prefer biology teachers, chemistry teachers, because those are the research programs we have on task today. We have 1 participant this summer. That's a disappointment to me because we had 2 slots. We couldn't fill the other one. The internship is paid, we cover all the expenses, and it's an opportunity for a teacher to come into a real-world research lab and hopefully be able to take something out to their students. Some of the tools that we use, I mentioned the STEM mobile lab. We tow this thing all over the footprint, and we tow it free of charge. You have an event at a school, a teacher wants to do something special in the science, engineering, technology, or math curriculum. We have the resources we can put on that lab, everything from computers to electronic experiments to chemistry. Last week, my granddaughter got the chance to learn how to make goop, chemicals mixing together to turn into this slime stuff, which the PhD chemist on the van told her it was okay to throw at Grandpa. She did. Grandma laughed. But they had a good time. And as you can see, we've been here in the community and we want to be more active in your community. Lakefest in 2012, 291 participants. Over the course of this program since 2010, we've had over 20,000 participants and conducted over 350 programs. But perhaps most important of what we do is our research. In sustainable chemistry and in material science, we're looking at new ways to create new products and new processes so that we can create new businesses. We operate an ISO certified lab. We do all kinds of different types of material science research, most of which I can't pronounce and I won't even try. But our research leads to something. It has to. The Institute has not done a real good job of that over the last 9 years, but that's been changing. Leadership at the Institute began changing in September of 2012, and 4 months ago we got a new executive director. That executive director helped us launch Dan River Plants, which is the first commercial business launched by the Institute since its founding. Dan River Plants works very closely with Pine Knot Farms here in Clarksville. We've had an ongoing relationship with them and they've been incredibly patient with us, but we now produce for them thousands of plants, plants that they can sell, plants that have led to 11 jobs that were just now established in a commercial enterprise in Pittsylvania County. It is the first of what I expect will be many businesses coming out over the next few years. You can see some of our pretty staff down there. Dr. Da right there, a world-renowned high-value horticulturalist. He's created more plants than I've had years under my belt, an incredibly gifted scientist. Working very, very closely, these are some of the plants that he's helped produce. We do them by tissue culture, which means they don't grow from seed, and we can produce thousands of them. Our average order coming out of Dan River Plants will be on the order of 10,000 plants at a time, with a backlog over 2.5 million plants. Perhaps the most important plant we have is Miscanthus. It's an energy plant. We have another one called Arundodonax that we're actually partnering with Chemtex, and we're doing field trials now. We're doing field trials in Greenville, Emporia. We're doing them in Halifax, and we're getting to plant another 6,000 plants in Pittsylvania County. The objective will be to provide our farmers with another cash crop, with a crop that they might use to make more money. We also take the plant material, the biomaterial, and with our partners on campus, we turn it around and we turn it into something. Verdea is a plant that is a company that takes the plant material and reduces it to its chemical components. And they sell those chemical components. And they use it to also produce some interesting things like sugars, which can be used, of course, for biofuel. Our other partners, you can see what we do on campus. The most important to me, and for those of you that haven't heard, I like aerospace. I flew here tonight. I'm telling you, we're working on some composite materials that could fundamentally change the way that we fly and build airplanes and helicopters. We're doing that kind of work with the National Institutes of Aerospace and NASA Langley. That partnership's just getting established, but in the composite world, we've got some world-class scientists on staff, and we're making a difference. All kinds of different partners, university, independent companies, and the like. I'm going to stop there because I can get long-winded and this can go for hours and hours. What I do want to tell you is that we are here to help. We're here to help with the learning side of it because we know that none of these employers is going to be successful if they don't have a workforce that's skilled, technically skilled, and has the soft skills. We've identified a series of things that our students need to have, and we've made a concerted effort to focus these coming few years on 10th through 12th graders. and we are here to help. We have not done a good job of serving you guys. You're in our footprint. I'm here to tell you that that's changed. This is my third trip, and I'll be here a lot. If the schools need us, we're going to come. If we can figure out how to make something work, we're going to. And we're going to use the resources provided by your General Assembly to our institute to have an impact in your schools and in your community. And yes, I talk about economic development. I'm a business person that for some reason ended up on the board at the institute, and then they decided to put me on staff because they wanted things to happen. We're going to make a difference. And all we're going to ask is that you give us the opportunity and that you work with us. And Mr. Chairman, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And I know it's fast and furious, but there we go.
Anyone have any questions?
Okay? I will mention to you that you did get one flyer, that blue one. Those are some webinars that were produced in conjunction with the Virginia Space Grant Consortium, NASA and Aerospace Careers, and then Linking Your Future. Two things, if you get a chance to take a look at them online, you see the contact information there on the web. Please do take a look at them, and we'll go from there. And again, thank you very much.
Yes, sir, thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Gravitt.
Thank you. I'd just like to inform the board and the audience that the Mobile STEM Lab has been arranged to be a convocation for all of our teachers to participate in and to go through. So we'll be there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, thank you very much. We're going to move on to subject C. Ms. Shores.
Good evening, everybody. I was asked to explore the possibility of moving boys' middle school soccer to a spring season. When we looked at the rest of our conference that we play in, no one in our conference does that. The schools that we play girls soccer with in the spring do not play boys' middle school soccer in the spring. So we expanded our search to Lynchburg area. There are 8 middle schools there. They all play boys' middle school soccer in the spring, but they have their own 14-game conference that they play, and they're not willing to add us to that. We'll continue to explore this through principals' meetings for the conference and everything, but right now at this point, boys' soccer will remain a fall sport. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Thorne, we're going to move on to subject D, VPSA funding.
Okay. VPSA funding, this is a resolution that you pass every July. It is mandated that you pass the resolution, and it states your intention to use the proceeds of the equipment notes to reimburse for qualifying VPSA expenditures through the 2013 1A attached resolution. And what that is the majority of those funds are hardware funds. It's for online testing, and there's a few funds for software, but very little. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions? All righty. We're going to move on to item E. Ms. Garner, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Board, Dr. Thornton. I am presenting tonight the engagement letter for the audit of the student activity funds at our schools. Been presented by Creedle, Jones, and Alga. I think this is something that you've signed every year. They would like to get started at the end of July, is my understanding.
Any questions or concerns on that? All righty, thank you, ma'am. We're going to move on to item F, our gifted plan update and revisions to our local plan. Ms. Rogers, how you doing this evening?
I'm just fine. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Gifted Advisory Committee, I'm here with just a general update of our gifted program as I do each summer. You have 3 documents that were shared with you. The first one includes the testing numbers from this past year. You can see how many students were tested in each grade level, and then the breakdown by male, female, and then the different ethnicities, and then the number of students that were found eligible and not eligible. Again, we're trying to track our data from year to year just to make sure that we are screening and looking at our students on a case-by-case basis each year and identifying them as early as we possibly can. So this is this year's numbers. You also have, this year, the Gifted Advisory Committee decided, we generally survey our students and our parents. This year we decided to survey the teachers just to find out what their needs were when it comes to working with gifted students. So you have the results there from the teacher survey as far as the areas that they feel they need more help with, they need more staff development in, whether they feel like our gifted program is meeting the needs of the students. So you can look through these results. I will say that I think that with the instructional support team that we have that's going to be working with our schools this next year, that we're going to be able to identify and work with most of these areas, critical thinking being one of the areas that the teachers indicated they wanted more professional development in, and that is now one of the major goals for Mecklenburg County for next year. So I think that we're going to be able to provide that. We've already started that process with our professional development, and I think it's going to expand greatly next year. I'd like to do the same survey with the teachers at the end of next year to see if we have much change in their perception and their responses. And then you have the local plan, and there are just some minor changes in the local plan, and I've highlighted those for you. They are in several places throughout the plan, so I did include the entire plan for you just so that you could see, but in yellow you will see what has been changed and added to the plan. Basically trying to use the terminology of the deeper learning movement that we have going on and including that in our local plan. Are there any questions? Okay, if you have any, please.
All righty.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We're going to move on to item subject G, our energy update. Mr. Tucker.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen of the district. Tonight I have with me Lance Wyatt, who would like to present Mecklenburg County Public Schools an award for environmental stewardship. Mr. Chairman, would you mind joining us down here and accept the award?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'm pleased to be here to recognize Mecklenburg County Public Schools through, because of the energy program, the positive impact that it's had on the environment through a reduction in energy consumption. Over the past 2 years, through the diligence of Mr. Robert Tucker and district staff, the district has been able to reduce their carbon footprint through reducing energy usage. So, Mr. Tucker, if you'll show that there, this is the equivalency, if you will, of what has actually been done. And it's removing cars, I think, let me see here. Thank you. It is the equivalent of removing 190 cars off the road or planting 27,026 trees. That shows the effect of the reduced carbon footprint through reduced usage. On behalf of Synergistic, I'm going to read this and then I'd like to present it to you. For conserving our nation's precious resources through the dedicated implementation of Synergistic's energy management program and serving as a model of energy conservation to fellow educational organizations, Mecklenburg County Public Schools is hereby presented the award for energy stewardship for outstanding environmental resource stewardship.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now for our update. The idea behind doing an update, it was actually my idea. You know, the program goes through, we've already completed the first program year. We're in our second program year. And I felt like I owed you an update in the middle of the year just so you can see where we are and how we stand with the program. And so we're a couple of months behind in getting this done, but what I'm showing you tonight is only October 2012, and that was at the beginning of this program year. Our last program year started in October when I was hired and ended in September. So we picked up with our second program year from October through May and which will end in September of this coming year. So we still have the summer months to go. We're through May. I don't have all the June bills in, and some of the July bills will start coming in. So we still have those summer months. And as we get into the program, you'll see kind of how we did last year during those summer months for the program. The goals have not changed. We have not modified them, adjusted them in any way. We still want to save money, maintain and improve comfort and safety in our schools, eliminate energy waste, create a positive educational environment, and the most important bullet up there is to achieve an energy conservation culture, which in the long run is going to save us money in years to come. Now, here's how we compared ourselves with the base year on raw electrical data. This is the base year, which is the year before we started the program, and this is how we compare ourselves. Looking at the base year at, let me go back. The base year is in the red at the top. This year we started out, and we go back last summer, June, July, August, and September, and we're doing really good comparing ourselves to the base year. Until we get into this unusual weather pattern we had this past winter, starting in February, March, and on into April. And then once we got out of April, we could see we're heading back down again like we would have been if it hadn't been for that unusual weather pattern. I'll tell you a little bit about March. We pull our data for this district out of Raleigh-Durham Airport, the weather station there. Every day in the month of March required heat. The mean temperature for March this year was 45 degrees. All the years prior to this, the mean temperature was 60, 61. So this year, every day the schools opened the door, the heat had to come on. And that hurt us a little bit on savings. We're going into March, we were probably close to maybe 20,000 gallons less than we were the year before. Then we hit March, and it kind of took it away from us because of the weather. And not much we could do about that. We could not adjust our run times for the heating systems anymore because we had custodians in the building at night, and we had changed them as far as we could go based on that weather pattern. All right, here's our heating oil cost. The base year was $273. This year was $307. So we got a little bit of a reduction over last year, but we're still paying more than we did in the base year on heating oil. Now, this slide, I'd like for you to pay attention to the electrical bar. We are over the base year. Right now, our energy costs us 11.8% more than it did in our base year. So even though we're saving, we're avoiding using it, the 11.8% is kind of taking it away from us, but we are using less and less, and we're still ahead of that increase. And if you'll take a look at water at the bottom, water and sewage, almost 30% increase over the base year. Energy use consumption. This is what we expected to use, and this is what we actually use this year, a significant decrease. And this is all in MMBTUs, which is 1 million British thermal units, and we avoided using 3,704 1 million British thermal units. Significant decrease. This chart pretty much speaks for itself. It tells a story. As last year, during the summer months, and I put this up there so you could take a look at it, we had an 18, almost 19% reduction in energy in June. Going into July, we almost hit a home run, 36% in the month of July. I have not seen June's invoices or bills, and I'm not sure what July is going to look like, but I'm hoping we're going to go above this. And then we went into August, 27%. And then there's another slide here that shows you a little bit better. But you can see how we make the dip in the winter months. And then here's where we are May 13th at the last bar. 21.9% for the month of May, comparing ourselves to the base year. There's our pie. Tells you a little bit about, kind of gives you a good graphic picture of where we're spending our money, which is in electricity. Now, here's a slide I like, and I'm sure there's a few people in here. The first time I ever showed one of these in here, there were some people who said, you know, I don't like where I am on that list. And when I'd go by to see them, they would ask questions. What can I do? I want to move up on that list. And everybody, I can tell you that there is some competition going on. Everybody wants to move up on that list. And I know that person in here tonight on top, I'm not going to turn around and look, but I know he's probably smiling. Right? All right, here's the program comparing to when we first started. Here's the first few months that we started, which were the fast track months. I was hired in October and then could not affect anything until November, 15.3% change over the base year when we first started. Now as we go through and compare ourselves with the same time frame, here's the savings. Since we started in November, when we really got the program going. Nothing happened June, July, August, September, and October. And of course, since that was the fast track months, there was no expense to the program at that time. Today, and this is just for October through May. Payments synergistic, $76,000. My salary, $88,000, and the net benefit is $17,187. Hopefully, when I tow in the June and the July savings, if we can get the same percentages we did last year, this number is going to grow significantly. And I will be back at the end of this program year to give you a final for the year for the program. And future opportunities. There's a couple of them here that I'd like to get off the ground. I would really like to see the school energy teams, get those going, get them established, get them functional, helping the administration out in those buildings. Those teams could help with the common areas, helping things are shut down at the end of the day. They can also help with what takes place during the occupied times. And yes, the light switch. It's where it all starts. You can start your whole program at the light switch because everything else is just an expansion of cutting that off, and we cut off other things. Now when I walk through schools, a lot of the kids look at me and say, oh, Mr. Tucker, when are we going to have a energy team meeting? Clarksville Elementary helped me make a display this past year. Everything that went into that display, they made it, and they had some very creative ideas about how to save energy. Improve EMS efficiency, reduce time-of-day schedules. We'll continue to work on that and continue to keep that adjusted to the weather patterns. Transitional lighting control, that is a never-ending job because power goes off, the timers get off, daylight savings time, everything happens so that sometimes the timers just kind of quit. They have a mind of their own. But that is a never-ending job. You're always going into schools, looking for timers, and setting those times so that the lights come on and go off, and you don't ride by schools in the middle of the day and see all the parking lot lights on. Occupied thermostat control. We have a couple of schools that have no control. Only control they have is they're all electric buildings, and the only control they have is for the custodian or the teacher to go out and turn the breaker off. And that's only control that schools have. I walked into La Crosse Elementary, 8 o'clock the morning after the shutdown for Thanksgiving. I pulled out my infrared gun, thermal. It was 115 degrees in that library because they have no control on that electricity unless you go outside and throw that breaker. And there are many classrooms that have to do that. It is situated so that they can. Most of the teachers don't want any heat during the day because they raise their blinds and they have enough heat coming in through the sun to keep their rooms warm most of the day, and they're pretty comfortable with that. But if they don't cut them off, it gets miserably hot in there. but that's just a couple of the locations. They need some sort of control for that electric. Occupied or improved daylight use of energy. And many teachers are learning how to do that, how to cut this back, raise up the windows, pull it down. They're learning how to do those sort of things. And I think all of us are probably trying to do that at home as well. Special thanks. I would like to thank, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Dr. Thornton, who's offered guidance throughout the year from this program, and the maintenance director, Mr. Wilson, has really helped out a lot this year. He's done a lot to support. He's just a phone call away. I can call him just about any time, and he's right there to help me with an answer to my question. And I'd like to thank the entire district for their cooperation, understanding, and willingness to change their habits, as well as support the goals of the Energy Conservation Program. And that is my update for this evening. Any questions, comments? Uh-huh. Yeah.
$7 million. Oh, sorry. $47 million. But one of the energy managers said in this article, one of the people that had your job, they have more than one, obviously, said it's a nickel and dime thing, but those nickel and dimes added up over since 1993 to like $47 million.
Yeah.
And when we were researching this, it was called Energy Education then, I believe.
Yeah.
And y'all gave us all the names of the ones in Virginia. There's quite a few in Virginia. I did talk to Amelia, and I talked to Dr. Masico in Roanoke. But he said that they had used them for 12 to 15 years, and they did have an energy manager retire, and they wanted to keep it going, so they hired a new one. But the whole thing is, all these counties, Loudoun, that article, Roanoke, the ones I talked to, Amelia, every year they see a little more. So I guess that's more the culture kicking in, a lot more people getting involved, because each year, that's why tell me if I'm wrong, but that's why we signed a 4-year contract, because each year the savings are growing. That's what had happened with Roanoke, the people I talked to. Each year it gets bigger.
Sure. And you're looking for things, and you continue to look for ways you can cut. And it's not cutting, and I hate to use that word cut, or taking anything away. The program is not to take away.
Yeah.
It's just to stop the misuse and abuse of it. And I'm not seeing anybody intentionally misuses or abuses the energy in this county. I wouldn't dare say that. But we get wrapped up in what we have to do every day, and we just kind of forget about that stuff. But then when they see me walk through the building, everybody says, "Oh, the temperature's going to change. He's in the building."
Well, that's why I think those building teams would be good. That can, I think that would be excellent, because I said we have 2 more years in our contract, and so I said it's only looking forward to growing the savings. So
I would like to make one parting comment, Mr. Chairman, if you got the time.
Mm-hmm.
The expenses we showed up there, what it cost, that's our cost of what it takes to do business with an energy conservation program. And that savings over and above, that's our profit margin. And for us to broaden that profit margin, sometimes expenses can be adjusted, and sometimes they can't. But to make that profit margin, that's the manipulative part of the whole program, is we can manipulate that profit margin by looking for ways to save more. And I don't like quoting many famous people, but I remember Hillary Clinton one time saying, "It takes a village to raise a child." And for an energy program to grow and prosper, I'll read you a partial line out of the policy. It says, "We also affirm the implementation of this policy will be the joint responsibility of the board, administration, faculty, staff, students, support personnel, and synergistic. Success is based on the cooperation amid of all groups." Ladies and gentlemen, this is a joint effort from everybody in this district. And if we're going to broaden that profit margin, we got to all be on the same sheet of music. Thank you very much for your time.
I'd like to address a point that has been brought up at the Board of Supervisors meeting about this program. And one of the things was that we went over in the line item of maintenance by, I think it was around $22,000. Even though we raised another $24,000 and gave the county back close to $600,000. The actual expenditures, and I'm going with our fiscal year, which is July through June. Last year's expenditures for utilities were $1,068,003. This year's, for that time period, was $1,062,038. So we actually spent $6,000 less this year than last year in actual bills that we paid. And I do understand by looking at the bills and looking at them with Donna, we did not pay you guys 3 months, July, August, and September of the previous year, that $9,500. So there's another $29,000 actually in utility savings there. Now, we did budget $977,000. Our administration budgeted that. I don't know why we budgeted $977,000 when we actually spent $1,068,000 the year before. So did we actually spend more this year in utilities? The answer is absolutely not. I would like to see in the future your report line up with our fiscal year as we move on. So then we could match. It would make Donna's job easy to match to see, and I know you have a formula for weather and all that, but then we could see our actual numbers and we can see your actual numbers, and I think it would help clarify.
Sure, and I can do that. That's not a problem.
And I know that first year is going to be skewed by the 3 months, but I think we all understand that. So I think we'd like to see that report from June through July.
Yeah, I think it would make it easier to understand, you know, with their program and then me showing you different time frames, and I'd be glad to do that for you.
Does that make sense, David?
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No comment for you, but I want to comment. I think we're missing the boat, not with his product. Mecklenburg Electric and Dominion Power has offered to come in here free, send engineers in to show us ways to save. Motion detectors on all of our light switches in all of our classrooms automatically turn the lights out when you leave. It automatically turns them on when you go in. So we have that at South Hill Elementary School. If you utilize that, you don't have to worry about a teacher or a student turning the lights on and off. That's called new technology. We can do that. I have priced that out, and I have that information if anybody's willing to look at it. I know how much the switches cost, and I got a labor factor, and I've counted every light switch in Mecklenburg County, so I know how many it is. I'll be glad to feed that to you. LED lighting in the parking lots can also be put on motion detectors so that if anybody moves into that parking lot at night, the lights come on. If our police officers ride by and the lights on in the parking lot, they know somebody's at that school that shouldn't be. This is new technology that I think we owe to the taxpayers to look into, and I'd like to suggest that we put that on our agenda, or at least have the superintendent or somebody look into having these people come in. It's free; it doesn't cost anything, and they don't. But they'll give us suggestions, and I think it would enhance what we're already doing.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Thank you, sir. We're going to move on to subject 8H, drug testing athletes. Dr. Thornton, I think you got some information for us on
that. In your packet, I've attached 2 documents from other counties who've been successful with programs, Salem and Clark County. And I've also asked VAS, our superintendent organization, to send me any information on this topic. And we do have, I enclosed 2 policies that these counties use. One of the policies from Clark County, it actually shows you comments, and one of them actually is using alcohol and one does not as they move forward. So The next part that I really need to research and get is with the prices and where this can be done, how it can be administered, and I should have all that for the next board meeting. But in the meantime, I do need feedback from the board members. Do you want to include alcohol? And as you go through those policies are going to be very similar to what Brad, our attorney, would develop. So if you look through those policies and anything that doesn't hit you the right way, or you have a question, it would help as I developed a policy with Brad over the next month. But they seem pretty extensive. I really like Salem's policy because it's a whole program.
I would like to see the alcohol included.
I agree.
Yes, sir.
And like I said, anything else over the next month, if you would email me, call me, and like I said, take time to look at those policies will help. And I'll get you our policy and some prices.
I think if we're going to do it, then we need to include the alcohol with it, along with the drug one.
Should we maybe ask for some supervision or help from the sheriff's department? Because, I mean, since they're responsible, if we find 18 baseball players with drugs on them, that's who we have to call. You know, so I'm asking, would that? That's where I was going.
Thank you, sir. Anybody have anything else on the drug testing?
Do we have a projection of what costs might be?
We do not at this time.
Do we have a projection of the cost if we don't, and we get a lawsuit because some football player, some baseball player, somebody gets hurt because it's drug-induced? You know, we have to look at it both ways, you know.
Yeah, I
I
think.
was just raising the question.
Yeah, I know.
I wasn't saying it in a negative way. I
Right,
was raising
right,
the
yeah.
question, do we have an idea of what it might cost?
Yeah, hopefully, Dr. Thorne, you can get us that information. I think part of the drug testing policy for the counties have been that if the students, of course, if they get caught with drugs, their protocol will be the same. But if through the testing, it shows positive, I don't think that's going to be a law enforcement issue. That's going to be an administrative issue through the school system. So I just want to make sure that once our policy is developed, it is to, go ahead.
Right, it looked like the policies addressed, like getting the student counseling and they're off the sports program, but it didn't look like it was further punishment, like kicked out of
Exactly.
school, suspended.
It didn't look like we were turning them in.
No, it's just
Right.
they can get counseling and help.
Yeah, it says it's not intended to be disciplinary or punitive. The primary emphasis is on deterrence and remediation rather than punishment of the students. So, I mean, no student should be expelled. This is Salem, should be expelled or suspended. So it's basically you're suspended for a little while from athletic endeavors and extracurricular activities.
And you'll see those two different policies shows you different lengths of period and first offense, second offense, if they are allowed back on the team. So you might want to review those to give me some of your input on that.
It talks about what's in their system, not what they have in their possession. If they have something in their possession, that's a totally different issue.
Right.
Well, how far do you go with this? If they have it in their system, they got it somewhere.
Yeah, they
Is it
do.
our responsibility to report that to the sheriff's department? Because if they don't, then you can't follow up with the line of.
That very well may be part of
I
it.
don't know, I'm not in the.
I think that may be part of the counseling. The parents are notified, the parents are brought in, there's a dialogue, there's a discussion. If it's in their system, then the parent will be notified. And I guess as we get further along in our policy, we can address those.
Any further questions on the drug testing policy? Dr. Thorne, if you would get us that information. Move on to subject I on our agenda. Mr. Sturtevant, we'll talk about the Finance Committee.
Do we need to talk about it?
Yes, sir, I think we do.
All right. I suggest we do a Finance Committee because we did not have one.
I think finances is one of the most important issues that this board has to deal with. And talking to some of my fellow board members, the first objection came up was, well, we used to have one, but there were problems with the Finance Committee. And my answer was, well, I wasn't on the board then. I think a Finance Committee, individual board members go over their bills every month, every Wednesday prior to the regular school board meeting. My personal opinion, I think this would be a good opportunity for the board. If board members want to volunteer to be on the committee, it makes it simple. That way, the committee will have an opportunity to go over the bills. I was told the past board, you know, it was to a point of counting toilet paper rolls. I don't think that is the role of a finance committee. The role of a finance committee is so everyone, the finance committee and any other board members who want to attend will have an opportunity versus one board member going over the bills. I don't think it's a negative thing in any way. I'm surprised that I have to talk about having a finance committee. I think would be the board should want to have one. I'm not a finance person. I think maybe we can ask our finance people what their views on the committee would be. I know we have Mr. Alga here, and we have our new finance person who did a great job this year. So that the board can have a full understanding, I would like to ask them their opinion and then go a little further talking to the board about having a committee.
I'll answer that for you. It was the recommendation of our auditor years ago, who happens to be sitting in the back of the room, to have an organized finance committee. And that's the reason we had a finance committee in the term before this, and the last term, and this term we don't. But we did have one, and it was at the recommendation of a CPA.
Yes, sir.
Put you on the spot for the
I didn't intend to do this. Good evening.
You're not charging us this, are you? I was messing with you.
Off the record.
Off the record. Okay, yes, several years ago, I recommended that you have a finance committee for the very reasons that you talked about, as a process to look at financial items so that you give them sufficient detail without bogging down the board on other issues, because you have other issues. Finance is important, but you have other issues. And your job is to educate the children. And finances is only a piece of that. But I saw so many times where the board got bogged down with individual checks, rolls of toilet paper, and it was kind of just bogging down the whole process. So I strongly support the model of having a finance committee so that you can get work done. And again, the last time we had it, board members came that were not members of the finance committee. It was an open deal. Mr. Edwards, you'll probably remember the first one we had, the press was there. We had an open conversation about what a finance committee does and how it operates, and I think everybody came to a better understanding as to what its role was, and I believe it worked in the early going. My staff and I provided some support and came to the meetings and discussed issues. So I think it's a good thing. I think you should have it as part of being a professional. Thanks. Any other questions? No.
Well, right now, if the way you're thinking about it, Dale, is just going over the bills, we all go over the bills. We all have it in our packet and it's on for anybody in the public to look at. So to me, when you said finance is I think it's the most important thing. So I think we should discuss that as a whole board. I mean, I don't think just a committee. I think that getting the bog down is, what I'm trying to say is finance is so important, and we have to have special meetings for it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the whole board should be involved.
Well, the intent was that they could be, if they wanted to be. I agree with you that finances are important. It's not the single most important thing, but it is very important. And that committee allowed the board to operate freely in other areas as well. But the finance committee just doesn't approve bills.
Yeah.
You're also talking about the budget and, you know, line item changes. It's just a way to get a lot done, you know, outside of the normal board meeting, but not, I understand each one of you is an elected official, and it's your responsibility to handle all the business of the board. I understand that.
Well, that's the thing I'm worried about, because none of us on the board have a finance background. And the last finance committee, when we had one, I guess this is before Dr. Thornton came, our budget was a mess. We had to hire Dr. Blevins to come in and show us where our money was, show it where it should be, and it was a mess. And we had a finance committee, and I don't think we have finance people on our board. I recall very distinctly when we were discussing Dr. Thornton, hiring Dr. Thornton, a big part of Plus was his extensive school finance background. And now we have Ms. Garner, who's a CPA, has done excellent the first year. I guess my point is, I just think that we're operating on far less money than we had now, and we're doing a lot more with it, doing a lot more for the children. I guess personally, someone told me in my district the other day that someone was coming around with a petition to remove me for misappropriation of funds. Me personally. So I'm going, well, how, I mean, I can guess how it got started, but it's just, so I'm thinking, how would it was just, well, you can understand why it would, I mean, I just can't understand. The way, I'm looking at what we've done with far less money. Our elementary schools have iPads and netbooks. Every middle school will have a Chromebook. We've got additions building. We've got 3 new gyms. We seem to be, if I'm misallocating funds, if the board is misallocating funds, it seemed to be allocating them in the right way, the way that would affect students positively. So I'm just very concerned. I think finance is so important. I think, if anything, I think the whole board should be involved. I don't know why they think me personally misallocated funds. It's strange, but I think the whole board should be involved in any financial decision.
Well, it ultimately would be. The Finance Committee is a tool of the school board.
Well, the tool didn't work last time.
Well, that doesn't mean it won't work if it's properly established. And if you set up guidelines for the Finance Committee, when you give the Finance Committee authority, so I don't know how you're thinking that you're giving up anything. You are not. You're asking them to go out and do some groundwork, preliminary work, and then bring a more finished product to you so the board can be more efficient.
Okay.
That's
I could
the
make
goal.
the decision maybe if I see that, if I see those guidelines and groundwork that you presented. I mean, I'd like to see what you presented the first time y'all recommended it to the board.
You have to pay for that.
Because it didn't work.
We've about used our dimes, y'all need it.
I mean, I can't address it other than that it isn't, it's like you saying you're not using your arm, because the board is the entire body, and you're using the tools, to do certain things. It's no different than farming off your energy things.
Okay.
I mean, it's just part of what you do, and it gives you a clearer picture of, you should be looking at the overall things, and I think in the past, Mr. Sturtevant was talking about you're dealing with the trees instead of the forest. And it's just designed to help give you the bigger picture so that you can make a global decision rather than an individual, a decision on one little component.
You're just saying it's a best practice.
Yes, ma'am, it's definitely a best practice.
And I'd like to say that from the time that I was coming to the board meetings and then have been on this board, I think we're more transparent now than we ever have been. All of our bills are online. So everybody in the public can see it. If they have any questions, they can contact one of us or they can contact the superintendent. We have a schedule here for each one of us to take a time to look at the bills. We get the information on Wednesday. You can go over it Wednesday and Thursday. You can send the question to that person that's going. And then I think the discussion needs to be here at the board meeting rather than in a finance meeting that one of us may or may not attend. So I think we're already having that discussion here. So, I feel like we can just continue to do that rather than having a finance committee, another meeting to attend, and then it's going to end up being here anyway.
Well,
And I don't think
ultimately-
that we're taking anything away from, what we're going over because we already have that information. And like I said, the public has that information, so they can actually ask questions if they're interested too, so.
Okay. Well, that's great. I just think, I'm coming from the corporate world. Corporate world, you have a finance committee, and I think it's a good model to consider. Not saying it's always the right model, but it's a good model to consider.
Yes, sir, Dr. Holmes.
Can I add something? I did talk to Mr. Sturdivant about this topic, and I did do a little research of how the county operates with their finance committee, just to get some feedback. And I think you just said there's other things besides the bills that need to be looked at. Big ticket items, transfer of money, those types of things. That is what their finance committee meets for. As far as the county, how they operate each month, the bills are paid in a consent item with personnel and are passed, and they're not online. I do think we are very transparent, and our bills are online the Wednesday before the meeting. And I do see big ticket items and transfers and these items over 30,000. We do those at board meetings too. That could have and operate in a similar fashion. I think that's a possibility.
But that's the thing too, because we've never been more transparent. We do have everything out there. We get audited every year. That's why misinformation still gets out there like that. I mean, that's what is. So even though we are more transparent than we've ever been, everything we do is online. The county sees everything we do. To still have somebody going around saying that you're misappropriating funds, it's very disturbing when you're doing everything you can to say anyone can see anything we're doing. So it's very frustrating. But I think everything, that's why I want the whole board involved, I guess. I just, it's nothing.
Well, again, you would be
Yeah,
involved, but
yeah.
it's just a way of trying to efficiently cover certain pieces that have bogged you down in the past. That's all that it is. And that's what we were trying to do, how many years ago it was? 8 years ago? And of course, there are always going to be issues with the public because the public doesn't understand.
How to look online and
Can't
find
reasonably
stuff.
be expected to understand, and that's part of your problem on that end, and nothing's going to solve that.
Thank you, Mr. Alger.
Thank you.
If we can just go down to when we get down to payment of bills, I'll show you bogged down. Because I can go through every check, and we can be here about 2 o'clock in the morning so that's what we're talking about. And it's a lot of questions that need to be answered that are not being asked. A finance committee will work, and I'm all for it. If you're afraid of a finance committee, it scares me to death.
Well, then, can I end on a happier note?
Yes, sir.
I would like to publicly thank Donna Garner. I know she's only been with us a half a year. As we were closing out the end of the year and knowing we're going to have some shortfall in state funds, but then we did have a windfall in some other funds, it's still nerve-wracking to go through closing out the year. And being her first year, I think we were nervous together. She was actually more nervous, which is good because she should be conservative. But she is a CPA. She did a remarkable job, and from her last accounting to me, she was spot on, which is great news to me that we have someone who was spot on with our money at the end of the year. So thank you, Donna.
Mr. Freer, Mr. Alger, thanks for coming up and giving your view on it. I figure we better get a professional who has that background. Dr. Thornton, I want to thank you for your suggestion of possibly looking at the finance committee being there for big ticket items or those type things. I see nothing negative in doing a finance committee. Mr. Freer, that's all I have.
Anyone have any other discussion on the finance committee?
Do what?
Yeah, I just didn't have any more discussion on the finance committee.
So the finance committee would recommend a big ticket item, or I don't understand.
Of course. Well, Dr. Thornton said if there are larger items that go over the.
But we're all going to be discussing that anyway. I
But-
mean.
But we don't.
Yes, we do.
Well, I don't want to get bogged down with, I think we should have a finance committee And if we have to vote on it, before we get too far gone, I think, Chairperson, if we do a poll, and then we can have a decision and as to which way we want to go, and I think it's a positive thing. And we can have parameters put in place so that we have some guidance in it.
I'd like to hear more about the Finance Committee as doing the big ticket versus coming and going over every single bill. Because I think we do that, we have it, the public has it, and I don't think we need a meeting to go over every single bill. I mean, I know we have questions, and we question those, and we get the answers back before we come to the meeting, but that I'm interested in, because I feel like those are the things that we do. Like, when this came up about the 40 to 90,000, you know, that would have been something that the Finance Committee would have known ahead of time, and we could have discussed. So that would have been, I could see that, but as going over every single one, I think we're already doing that.
Can I make a suggestion that Donna and myself get with Mr. Alga and possibly bring back a recommendation next month?
Yes.
Yes, sir, sounds good. Anyone have anything else to discuss on the Finance Committee before we move on to public input? If anybody has any thoughts or any other input they forgot, just email it to myself or Dr. Thornton when they take it under discussion. Ms. Shuttleworth, do we have anyone sign up for public input? All right. All righty, we're going to move on to item number 9, our action. I have a motion. The school board approves the minutes from special school board meeting held on June 3rd, 2013.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Abstain.
None opposed, Ms. Shuttleworth, one abstain. Move on to subject B, minutes from our regular school board meeting, June 17th, 2013. Have a motion, the school board approve the minutes of the regular school board meeting held on June 17th, 2013.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Abstain.
One abstain, Ms. Shuttleworth. We can move on to special meeting, June 26th, 2013. Have a motion, the school board approve the minutes from the special meeting held on Wednesday, June 26, 2013.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Abstain.
We have one. Two abstain, Ms. Shuttleworth. We're going to move on to personnel. Have a motion, the school board approves the personnel recommendations.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes, with exception.
Yes, with exception, Ms. Shuttleworth. On me also. We're going to move on to subject E, payment of the bills. Have a motion, the school board approves the payment of the bills. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All righty, I went over the bills, and I do have a question. Bills were a little bit light, but an instruction category. Got a $5,500 expenditure for senior of the month. I thought the business partnership paid for all that.
The 5,500, the business partnership provided the meal and the evening through donations. They do some of the scholarship money. Service Solutions contributes $5,000 to that scholarship fund. So whatever we do not raise out there, the difference we do put in so that each student can get $500. So that's the 5,500.
Okay.
So basically, the Mecklenburg Partnership pays for the dinner and the evening and some of the scholarships.
Well, it's also, 5,500 is for all of the scholarships that should be in each school. The monies we receive has to be brought in as
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone have anything else? Any other questions or concerns?
Yeah, where's the payment to Service Solutions and Synergenics? I don't see.
Service Solutions is under the maintenance.
I don't see it.
Synergetics, I did not see this month.
So we don't have to pay them?
I don't know if it came in time.
We advanced paid them? Well, in the report, we only paid them for 8 months last year. Or we only paid them for. So that's this year. But they bill us every month, so I don't care about years. We've been paying. I saw sometimes last year we paid them twice in 1 month. Was that an advance payment or, you know, I'm just.
No, we didn't intend to pay it in advance, but when I was researching the book, we paid for July and June. It's very possible that we have not received that bill, but it will be in the last run of the month, and we will be again.
I see Service Solutions. I see it. I see it now. Thank you.
Any further discussion on payment of the bills? Hear none. All those in favor? All opposed? Going to move on to subject F, suspend policy, VPSA funding resolution. Have a motion, school board approves to suspend policy 1-5.4 in order to hold a vote on the VPSA funding resolution.
So moved.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? None opposed, Ms. Shuttleworth. We're going to move on to a funding resolution. We have a motion, school board approves the VPSA funding resolution.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? None opposed, Ms. Shuttleworth. Move on to subject H, suspend policy. Have a motion, the school board approves to suspend policy 1-5.4 to allow a vote on the engagement approval of Cradle Jones and Alger to audit our school activity funds.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? None opposed. Moving on to action on that item. Have a motion, the school board approves to engage Cradle Jones and Alger to audit the school activity funds.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. During discussion. All those in favor? None opposed? All righty. That brings us down to board member remarks. Ms. Sturtman, you have anything you'd like to say?
Start with me, huh?
Yes, sir. Start you tonight.
Okay, great. Mr. Priya, I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity to voice my views on starting a finance committee. I hope that we have a positive recommendation, and I hope we can have a finance committee. I look forward to working with the 2 new student liaisons. It should be an interesting year for you. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Wagstaff?
I'd also like to welcome our new liaisons. I look forward to working with you. I'd also like to thank our book buddies. They're doing very important work, and I pray that they continue to grow. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Duncan for coming. The possibilities of